Hello and welcome! Today I'll be playing Sons of the Forest while also giving my first impressions on the Steam Deck performance and the game. Sons of the Forest is the sequel to The Forest, which is now one of the most wishlisted games on Steam. People were very excited about this one to finally be releasing into early access. That's right, it's not fully released yet, and as such, there's definitely some performance issues, and you're not going to see the best performance here from the gameplay that I'm showing of the deck. But what is the game? It's a survival, crafting, horror, sort of single player to multiplayer experience where you'll have to be looting, eating, surviving, but then also making your way through the island where there is actually a story of you trying to find some missing people. As you can see here, I've just started up the game. I have played for quite a few hours and made it through a couple of days, but for this playthrough, I've started up a new single player save just to show you what the experience is like without spoiling too much here. And I've got my little companion with me, which is Kelvin here, and the game actually supports some AI features where you can actually ask them to do things for you, such as build. They can get sticks and retrieve items for you, such as food. So in this case, I'm going to go get him to collect some food and then just drop it right here so that we have something to eat. But you'll basically be having to fulfill your needs through sleeping, drinking water, and also eating and then surviving. I want to show you the inventory screen here, which I found was really quite interesting. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. This is your inventory. So everything that you collect throughout the game will appear in here, and pretty much you can collect almost everything, but there's a cap on certain items. So for example, the flares here, you can only collect so many before that inventory compartment can't be used. And when you collect things, they always go to the same sort of section. So food is always going to appear at the left here, whereas collectibles and craftables down here. And what you can do then is you can actually move things in. Sorry, I just accidentally left the inventory screen. You can actually combine items here. From this, you can see what I can actually make. So right now, I can actually craft. If I add the stick, and then it tells me all the things that I can make with that. So at the moment, I can only make a crafted spear with a stick, some tape, and then also the knife. And I need 2 sticks, of course. But this gives you an idea of the basic sort of crafting in the game. You can do this to make items, and there's also a little handy book that I'll show you that guides you through what you're doing. So if I now equip that, you'll see I actually now have a weapon to survive the environment. Now, what else can you do? So you have your trusty lighter, you have a GPS and map, as you can see here, which gives you directions and guides you towards points of interest on the map. So things like, as you can see, the cave there, which will have certain items in there. I'm not going to spoil what exactly is in each cave, but definitely some interesting things. We might go into one towards later in the video. You've got the green dots there, which indicate points of interest or potential beacons. But actually, no, I think the purple dots there are the beacons, and that's where someone's putting out a distress signal, and you can go and find out what's going on over there. And then, of course, you can see all the lakes and rivers, which you can use for drinking water. As I don't know from my playthrough so far if there's any way to actually hold consumables. So, other than that, you'll be building shelters to survive, also to save your game. Really important, you can save your game just by going to a shelter and then sleep there during the night, as it does get extremely dark. What else can you do? Well, through the build menu, which I will get up in a second, and hopefully don't get attacked, as it does sound like there's things around. You can see the build menu here. You can build from pre-select things. You can do quite a lot, actually. The building in this has been really improved over the first game, where you can build a bunch of furniture, storage items. You have utilities and plants and all sorts of things that you can do, but you can also switch build mode and do things yourself. So you can build your own tent, you can build, shows you how to create fire, and then you can start doing structures as well. So you can actually just place the logs that you cut down to just build however you want. It's really quite freeing. So if I just show you how it works, and that is an enemy right there. So I did not mean to So the biggest problem with the game so far that I found is the inventory management is pretty bad. You have to either use this bag, and you can see here on a controller, it's difficult for me to even select it. So when you're playing, you have to manage that inventory and make sure that you have the right things equipped so that when the enemies do come up, you're ready for them. And I'm just going to get this guy out of the way. See, he's taking quite a few hits and he's running for it. I might just let him escape because I really can't be bothered chasing them down, especially once they run into the forest. I might get this one. And that is him out of there. You can drag his body and pick it up. But as you can see, the main sort of thing, as I'm walking through the forest here, I can start cutting trees and building logs for that shelter that I've built down at the bottom. That's on its way. So you've got your health and stamina at the right bottom, and you can only cut till your stamina goes out. Once you cut the tree, it actually falls down, has physics, which is pretty cool, and it can destroy your base, so just be careful of that and hurt you. And then you can pick up 2 logs at a time and actually start building. If I head down, I will then start placing logs and building the shelter. You basically get the idea here of the building and crafting, which is pretty cool. It's definitely going to keep you interested. You know, in a single player experience like this, it's live or dies through how customizable the building actually is. And if it's fun and you can do a lot of different things, then it's definitely going to keep people playing and interested. Of course, you can also use your companion to pick up the logs that are on the ground and get them actually doing things for you, which is also pretty cool. So you can see there, you can get rid of the stumps, you can build to your heart's content. For now, I'm using a predefined building structure. So instead of actually just me placing the logs, which you can do, if you switch modes, I'm using if I can select it, the shelter option here, and I've decided to build the small log cabin, which is just a lot easier because it actually does all the materials and manages them to what you need them to be. So for example, you actually have to cut logs and make them half, and do have different materials from those that you sometimes have to do. Like as you can see at the left bottom, those are the items I have to collect, and the 3/4 logs and planks are created from the logs. But when you use the shelter here, it does it automatically for you. So another thing you can do, as I said, I'm just going to save and go to the morning. That way I can get some light and we can sort of just go on a journey. So I'm just going to go through the night. And then now it's finally day again. I'm going to save before I continue on. Awesome. Another thing that annoys me is that to be able to drink water from here, I don't think I'm allowed to do it while holding the axe. I don't think it allows me to drink water, which is just a frustrating feature of the game. And if I equip something else, hopefully it lets me. You can see here, it's just not coming up. There we go. So you have to go to a certain deep enough part of the water source to actually be able to drink it. Go for that twice and I should be all good. Now I'm also going to need some food. And because I slept in a crappy, lousy shelter like the one here, I actually didn't get the best sleep and therefore my energy actually didn't recover properly. Now what I'm also going to do is, you can see here, my AI companion has just been collecting fish. So I'm just going to pick that up. I'm just going to eat it raw, but you can cook on the fire obviously. But in this case, I really just want to get some quick, easy food. Just eating it raw, that's all good. There's no problems with that at all. And there we go. So then I'll just show you, if I equip my spear here, we're just going to go to one of the points of interest to show you what's out there. But do know that as you're going through the single player experience here, the goal is to keep exploring areas to gain new items that progress the game for you. And then there's a sort of story behind what's going on this island and the types of creatures and mutants that you find here. So as we make our way over there, let's talk about the Steam Deck performance, especially here. As you can see that at the moment it says it's running at 60 frames per second, but I really did have to play around with the settings to actually get things running how I wanted. And I'm going to show those a little bit later, just to show you what I had to do. Actually, I might just show you now. So if we go to the options, You can see I'm running at 800p, which is the max resolution of the deck, which is great. I'm just using exclusive full screen. I found that by turning the VSync on to 30 Hertz, you get much better frames and it's much more stable. This is definitely the most important option for when you're playing the game if you want a stable performance, and it's not on by default. Going over to the graphics, there's quite a lot of options for the quality presets and things, but for the Steam Deck, I would obviously just recommend low for this one as it's not really that optimized. Scrolling down, texture resolution I've set to half. You can also go to quarter if you really want, but half seems to be the sweet spot for me and it's running pretty well. For dynamic resolution, we're going to use FSR 1.0. It would be better if the game supported 2.0, but unfortunately it does not, so we're left with what we have here. And then I've just set the resolution target to 30, but you probably could go higher on this one. I mean, if I'm getting 60 at the moment, you can play around and see what's best for you. I turned off screen space reflections as well, as I found that that was taking a few frames off. And I also turned off motion blur because I'm not a fan of blur in any game really. From gameplay, you have your standard options for subtitles and all that good stuff. In controls, you can fully remap everything and change your toggles for sprint and crouch, etc., which I'm going to actually turn on because that is very frustrating when that's off by default, but great that you can change it. You can see you can remap everything. Of course, on keyboard and mouse, you can do it all as well. Audio is pretty standard, nothing spectacular there. Overall, it's pretty basic settings, but it's good that they give you all of these options and it really works well for the deck to be able to make the game a better experience. So I'm just going to apply those and then head on my way to the green marker over here, and hopefully we run through some inhabitants of the island, so to speak. Hopefully once they do optimize this and the full release does come out, I mean, God knows how long that will actually take, as these early access titles sometimes never fully release, but judging by the track record of the developers and the support that they gave for The Forest, I do hope that it's at least, on its way and they're going to keep optimizing everything that's here. I mean, especially with the sales that they got. This game absolutely blew up in sales and was insane. Only losing out to Hogwarts for this month, and with the amount of releases in February and now March, it's really done a good job. As you can see, I keep fighting these monkey-looking creatures. They're not too annoying. There's definitely some more difficult mobs that you'll encounter. But overall, the combat's pretty simple. It's just you click and attack, and once they're on the ground, they're pretty easy to deal with. You do get weapons and guns and things later on as well, which spice things up. So once I've come to this green marker here, there's actually most likely a cave section that you can go into, but I'm not too interested in that. I don't want to spoil the story too much. I was more hoping that if I keep going on this pathway, I will run into a camp or some sort of humans or perhaps cannibals of the island. I think in terms of this video, to make things go more smoothly, I am going to skip to once I get to a camp, if there's not one up here, and that way you guys can see at least a little bit more of the game, and we'll probably just end it there. So I finally made it to a campsite, and as you'll see over here, the local cannibals are not very friendly. If I can just make my way up. So just outside the camp, you'll see that they've got some interesting decorations. And here's our local cannibal. Don't need that map up anymore. We can just use our spear. I'll try not to die. Well, I failed that one miserably. Now, funny enough, once you do die to the cannibals, you actually get captured and need to actually break your way out. So here I can use my knife to cut the ropes, and then I should be able to free myself. But I'm in the middle of the camp, and obviously when you're playing co-op, you can be revived by people. I'm I'm just going to get my revenge on this tribe now. It's difficult with a knife, to say the very least. I should have definitely run. I should have just been a coward. It would have been much easier. Perhaps I should do that this time. Never mind. So once you die the second time, that's actually it for you, and you only survived the amount of time that you had before saving. You can go back and restart or load a save file, but that is the game. You go through a number of days, try and find the people that you're looking for, deal with many cannibals and interesting mutants, and it's not a bad experience. Is it worth the full price right now? I don't really know if I would pay full price for this title. There is fun to be had. I mean, if you're playing with friends, anything is fun. So it's definitely enjoyable there. The Steam Deck performance is pretty good. It's a single player experience, so you can play it on the go. It's nothing to write home about, but if you do adjust the settings a little bit, you can see here, it definitely fixes things up a lot better and doesn't run too bad. Though in terms of battery performance, I have to keep the wattage pretty high, which you've seen at the top of the video. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.